I'd like to call the meeting to order. So we have a declaration to move to the regular meeting.
Madam Chair, we did that downstairs, so we're good to go to our
Okay. We don't have anyone here today, so we will be having a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. And I feel that I need a moment of silent reflection because I didn't even welcome everyone tonight to the meeting. I'm sitting in for Mayor Deb Haswell, who is in Toronto and not able to come to the meeting this evening. And then she thought even if she could come, she might not be able to get back to Toronto for tomorrow. So she sends her regrets. And as I'm the acting mayor in January, I will hopefully get us through this meeting this evening. Actually, I'm very excited because we have such wonderful things happening this evening. First, I'd ask if there's any additional items for the agenda this evening. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, if we could talk about the some developments at the Senior Centre and their new forum. Thank you.
Any other additional items? Yes, Councillor Wright.
I just have a question regarding some correspondence that the city has sent out.
Yes. Any other additional items? Councillor Lemon.
Yes, I have two items, one pertaining to a question on transit and the other pertaining to the CNR station.
Thank you. Another additional item. Just realized I should be copying these down.
I'd like to report to Council on our Economic Development Creative Mixer that happened last week.
Thank you. Any other additional items? Any additional items from staff, from the clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just noticed to the council that item 9D, a deputation respecting the Grey Bruce One World Festival, will not be taking place this evening due to weather. They have asked to reschedule to speak with council in March.
Thank you very much. So moving on to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Yes, Councillor Adair.
Thank you. I'll be declaring a pecuniary interest in item 12B5 as it involves my employer.
12B5. Thank you. Any other disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, we'll move on to the confirmation of minutes from a special council meeting on January 13th.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on January 13th, 2014, as printed, be adopted.
All in favor? That's carried. Minutes of the regular council meeting on January 13th.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wright, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 13th, 2014, as printed, be adopted.
All in favor? And that's carried. Item 7, resolution moving council into committee of the whole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that City Council now move into committee of the whole to consider public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tabled, motions for which notice has previously been given, and other business.
Thank you very much. All in favor? That's carried. So public meetings, there's no public meetings scheduled this evening. And moving on to deputations. Our first deputation is from Mark Vigneault, who's the president of the Owen Sound Little Theatre, who's introducing to us our new Owen Sound Poet Laureate, Terry Burns. Thank you.
Acting Mayor Purdon, councillors, members of the public, good evening. As Councillor Purdon indicated, my name is Mark Vigneault, and I have the privilege of being the president of the Owen Sound Little Theatre. The OSLT celebrated its 50th anniversary just a few years ago. This region has known us as a community theatre for all that time, and of course we are that in spades. But increasingly we're much more. We're good corporate citizens of Owen Sound. We are a significant downtown employer. We've supported many causes over the years, including the CFOS Christmas broadcast, the YMCA, the Regional Recreation Center, the Tom Thompson Art Gallery, and our current campaign is in support of the Residential Hospice of Grey Bruce. We're an anchor establishment and a destination in the city's downtown core. More and more, we're partnering with or otherwise supporting local organizations and events such as the Georgian Bay Folk Society, the Mudtown Festival, the Emancipation Festival, Look Up Theatre, the Youth Theatre Coalition, and others. So when we were given the opportunity to support the Owen Sound Poet Laureate program, we were very excited to do so. This is a unique partnership of poetry and performing arts. At the theatre, we've already seen our new Poet Laureate in performance mode, and we immediately realized this is a match made in heaven. The Poet Laureate program was established in 2007 by the Owen Sound and North Grey Union Public Library. Under their auspices, there were 3 Poets Laureate: Liz Zetlin, Kristen Anderson, and Kateri Akawenzi Dam. The OSLT took over as host and sponsor last fall. The program could not run without the support of Frank Dabbs, the author from Annan, and investment advisor David Medill of BMO Nesbitt Burns, as well as private donors. The competition for our most recent Poet Laureate was held in September 2013. The requirements are formidable. We were looking for someone who was not only passionate about poetry, but would promote literary arts in the community. The Poet Laureate is an ambassador of, among other things, he or she not only has to read or perform poetry, but must also raise the profile of poetry in the community and help mentor and provide opportunities for other poets. I have no hesitation in saying that there is no one better qualified for these tasks than our newest Poet Laureate. She is a true Renaissance woman of letters. In addition to poetry, her writing practice includes novels, short stories, and articles. She was coordinator of the Words Aloud Spoken Word and Storytelling Festival in Durham, and she's currently the manager of the Sweetwater Music Festival. She has a background in theater as an actor and stage manager, and she's also a visual artist. She's originally from Sault Ste. Marie, but lucky us, she moved to Grey County in 2003 and now lives just outside Chatsworth. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our new Owen Sound Poet Laureate, Terry Burns.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of council, and guests, I'm delighted to be here this evening. I have 2 poems for you this evening. I hope you'll enjoy them. The first one is called Yardley London English Lavender Perfumed Talk. The girl in the store said ladies seemed to like it. By that I knew she meant older ladies like me. Who wants to smell like an older lady? Innocuous at best, an old dear, sweet and bleached. But Yardley's fabled name enticed me, and the French description sounded so French. Provençal French, sun-dusted lavender, not the iceberg blue of coiffed and thinning hair. Real lavender, hinting astringence, sharp as the aged twigs lurking at the base of Lavandula augustifolia. And neroli from the bitter orange tree, clary-saged geranium, sandalwood, and tonka bean, aromas with attitude. Tingling with spice, tree sap, and bark, smooth as vanilla, dry as wit. So yes, perhaps an older lady scent, top note of diffidence and civility, fortitude in the middle, and something caustic to finish. And this next poem I wrote for this occasion, and also for a project that I'm going to be working towards for the remaining 2 years that I'm Poet Laureate, which is a chapbook of poetry, and it will concentrate or have as its subject the rivers of Grey and Bruce counties. So this is called Staring at a Map of Owen Sound. It strikes you all at once. From above, Owen Sound looks a little like a Vulcan hand salute. A right-handed Vulcan, that is. You know the one I mean. I know you do. Palm out, fingers parted, 2 on one side, 2 on the other, thumb jutting out the side. The wrist is Harrison Park, the wrist bone Inglis Falls. Between the fingers, the long triangle of the harbor, its southern point, the city core. Thumb joint, the West Rocks. Thumb tip, the Sunset Strip. Rough and ready Mudtown, the span of ring finger. Middle finger, the harmony of balmy beach. Winding from south and west, the blue veins of rivers, they rise so far apart, weave such different paths, yet empty into the bay nearly as one. The Sydenham, sedate for much of its length, flowing north to fall at Inglis, resplendent. Its path through city and park, stately and complacent. Its sibling, the Potawatomi, follows the curve of Vulcan's thumb, an elusive, unruly river, hardly seen on its route through field and farm, then impetuous and bold just east of Springmount. Later, it weaves its way through forest and rock, the wilderness of Nichols Gully, emerges in Old Brook, diffident, demure, for its final run to Kelso. From above, Owen Sound looks a little like a Vulcan hand salute. Its limestone bones, its river veins deceptively still on the flat topographical map. Its raucous, impassioned past subdued but not forgotten. Its arts and hockey-mad present now and then contentious. Its future anybody's guess. What is left to say but Owen Sound, live long and prosper. And I would just like to add, if anyone wants to like the Owen Sound Poet Laureate page, then you'll get a little dose of poetry on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. Are we lucky to have you as the Poet Laureate? Wonderful poems, and I'm sure there's going to be a few people at the council table running out for Yardleys. A question from Councillor Twal.
It's not so much a question as an observation, and it'll come as a surprise to quite a few people that I've attended quite a few Words Aloud events in Durham and Walkerton over the past few years, and I'm impressed by how well received that festival is in the South Grey Bruce community, how well attended it is, and by the quality of the poets who come and perform. And it would just be wonderful if you can transfer a little bit more of that energy a little farther north. So I certainly would look forward to an opportunity to either expand the festival or perhaps bring some of the events. I know there are a number of different venues that it takes place at every year in that area. And certainly I know it's really well received there, and you've done a great job, and I think you've left it in good hands as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything? Yes, Councillor Lemon.
Well, first of all, thank you for 2 excellent poems. The Yardley poem reminds me of my grandmother very, very much, who used Yardley. But the poem about Owen Sound and your descriptors are just fantastic. When you think of it that way, it is. And that poem is Owen Sound in this area. And thank you very much. And my congratulations, the Roxy, on making a great casting call. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have a deputation, actually a presentation, a certificate of recognition for Peter Middleton, the Latornell Leadership Award. And I'll be coming down from the podium with something to give Peter. But Dick Hibma is also here this evening, who's going to provide all of us with just a little bit more of a background on this award that Peter so justly deserves.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council and staff of the fine city of Owen Sound. Those two poems where, if we take it over in the sports analogy, it's prize fighter material. Like the two closing lines were knockout punches in both cases. I loved it. It's great. Anyway, by way of context, Arthur D. Latornell was arguably one of the founding fathers of the Conservation Authorities movement in Ontario. And part of his legacy, actually he was born and raised just outside of Meaford in St. Vincent Township. So there is a trail named in his honor over there in Grey County property. Part of his legacy, he left a significant endowment to the University of Guelph. And that endowment was to benefit young people in their pursuit of education and employment career opportunities in the field of conservation and earth sciences, natural sciences. And for the last 20 years now, the conservation authorities, through Conservation Ontario and the University of Guelph, have partnered in putting together and hosting a 3-day conference that for the last 17 or 18 years has been held at the Nottawasaga Inn down near Alliston. And it brings together practitioners and students and people in academia and so on to look at a variety of different topic areas in streams of sessions. Keynote speakers, this past year we had Chris Hadfield from the International Space Station as our closing plenary speaker, a real highlight for us. But each year we recognize people who've made significant contributions in the world of conservation efforts in a broader sense. Initially we called those the Pioneer Awards, recognizing people with long years of service. And this year, marking the 20th anniversary of the event, we reconfigured that award somewhat to call it a Leadership Award. And the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority submitted a name and nomination for this award, and we're delighted to have had Peter Middleton as the recipient. He follows in the line of a lot of local people in receiving awards from that conference. But Peter, as most of you know, has been involved in teaching so many people of all ages over the decades here in this region and beyond as well, because of his absolute love for our natural environment and his deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all of those species of flora and fauna. If you've had the opportunity to spend time with Peter on a canoe trip like I have, you'll have seen him interacting with youth, unruly youth, out in the wild, behaving somewhat wildly, but because of who Peter is and how he presents, commanding their attention as he pointed out some of those small things that we all miss, and some of those resplendent things that we miss without people like Peter, with vision and knowledge and a passion. So I was delighted to be there as part of that ceremony. I'm delighted to call Peter a friend and neighbor, and I'm delighted to be here with him this evening as he received this recognition from the City of Owen Sound.
So we have here a picture in recognition of your award, Peter. for the 2013 Latornell Leadership Award from the Owen Sound City Council. We're very proud of you, and also I just have to tell you the story. Peter and I were on the founding trustees for the Outdoor Education Center, and once I got a ride to a board meeting with Peter, and he can show you every road between here and the Outdoor Ed Center. I really know roads well, and we were everywhere, and I don't know how many birds we saw. We saw so many birds, and he can show you and tell you about all the birds and the birds he has seen and the ones we saw. You are just such a treasure for our community, and no one deserves this award more than you do, Peter. So we're very, very proud of you, and pleased to present this to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, Madam Chair and Council, it's indeed a great honour to be here this evening. I was very taken aback when I heard from the Conservation Authority that I had been nominated and recognised as a recipient this year of this award. I was then deeply humbled when I attended the symposium in Nottawasaga and recognised the very select group of people with whom I was now being given membership. When you do what you love, it isn't a labour. And I've had the opportunity throughout my life to be a naturalist, to be somebody who could go out and feel totally at home in the natural world. And I had the incredible pleasure of being a teacher. That is something that is a unique responsibility, but also opportunity. And when I see the number of times that just a student of all ages suddenly have a smile come over their face and say, "Isn't that neat?" Or "I remember when." That's what it's been about. And it's that touch that makes the environment real. And today, too often now we are tweeting to appreciate the wonders of a day like this. An elemental day. How many of you saw the beauty in it? It truly is a remarkable day. Anyway, I've been very honoured. I've been very privileged to have this opportunity to do what I love. And part of that is due to my wife and my family who have supported me. And thank you once again for an incredible honour this evening. Thank you.
So our final deputation is a presentation of the Owen Sound Flag with lots and lots of signatures to Larisa Yurkiw, and her parents are going to deliver it for us. And here's some wonderful pictures here of Larisa. We are just so amazed with her unbelievable spirit that is taking her, I'm just going to have a little moment here, taking her to the Olympics in Sochi. We just are so amazed with her and the support of her parents and her community as well. So we are delighted to present the Owen Sound flags to Linda Montgomery and Dennis Yurkiw to take to Larisa. If you'd like to come. So there's two, and we would also like a picture.
Look at those signatures.
Isn't that something?
I've been hearing how every square inch has something, and Deb was telling me earlier this morning that some of the sweetest little sayings that young people were writing, like, "You're my hero," and "I love you."
Now it's time for me to take my jacket.
It says here, don't forget to do your
We have
laundry.
the
That's for
team.
you, Linda.
So we're all. So all of council here, and I know all of the citizens of Owen Sound are all part of Team Larisa, and we're all going in spirit to Sochi with you, and we're wishing her every good thing for the Olympics.
Thanks very much.
There's another flag here. It's there was just not enough room on one, so we have two.
Wow.
Two. So I think we're supposed to come up here for a picture.
So I get
And
one out
we were supposed to beam in Mayor Deb Haswell. She really is sad not to be here, and she actually is sending herself electronically. There's Deb. That's in Toronto. So, somebody else. I take it one more. Turn it around backwards. I'm backwards, oh, sorry. So, I don't know, do you want to say a few words? I think we should say a few words. Yes. Come over here so you can speak into the microphone, and then people will be able to hear it.
Come on, Dennis. I said I think we should say a few words because this is such a wonderful response to her journey. And I know you all know the challenges that she's experienced, but she just continued to have that belief. I don't know if any of you seen her couple of videos, but she talks about this little flame that was practically out, but she just believed in it and believed in herself. And so it is pretty neat. I mean, we lived with it day to day to day, and here she is. It's just, it's pretty remarkable if you really, really think about how she's achieved her dream. But I was just going to, I'll turn it over to Dennis in just a second, but as we were, as I was thinking about coming here, the last time we were here was not nearly as happy. And this might be the time that I'll cry. But Larisa was kindly invited to take part somewhat in the torch parade for the last Olympics. And so that had previously been arranged, but unfortunately on December 16th she blew her knee and it wasn't to be. And so when the torch came through, I believe that it was sometime in January, and she was still on crutches. We were living above our office, and she came down the stairs and stood on 10th Street, and she couldn't handle it. We just had to go back upstairs. And so, but afterwards, to be part of the festivities, we came down to City Hall. We came down to City Hall, and it was so lovely because all the council had a lovely little reception set up in here, and Ruth was here, and it was lovely. But I just thought, wow, what a difference 4 years makes, and I'm so happy that this is the resolve. So thank you, the town of Owen Sound, for all your support and all the things that Larisa has done here. I mean, she's just been able to partake in so many wonderful character-building events and groups, you know, whether it was sports events or music events, or she's just been such a blessed person to be able to take part in those. Okay, I've said enough, sorry. Sorry.
Well, Linda knows I could speak forever, but there are a couple of things I'd like to say, and important people in our lives are here. We have a small family. We've had unfortunate deaths, and people have left our family, so we are a small clan. But I said in the paper that really the village, the town raised her. Somebody was congratulating Linda last week and said, oh, she made it, blah, blah, blah. And there was a group of ladies around Linda, and then they turned, there I was against the wall, and they had to be polite, and they said, and what did you offer? Sperm? But the town really raised her. We think we raised her, but she participated in so many things. And Sue Laporte's here. I mean, at 2, she left our cottage. We were still sleeping, got her boots and her pajamas and walked over to her mother's place. And Granny opened the door, and there she was. And later in the day, she got rid of her pajamas and her boots, and there she was naked on the beach, and the boys still tease her, "I saw you naked." But from that she went to symphony, and from that she went to gymnastics, and from that she went to horseback riding here, and from that she went to rowing here. And none of those she, of course, put as much into it as racing, as ski racing. But they're all part of her. And that means it's all part of you, and that means it's all part of this town. This town let that happen, and she chose the thing she loved, and it's conveniently in the area, snow's in the area, and she knows very much that the town's support, and she loves this part of being from a small town very, very much. She sometimes will say things, they had to be raised in Toronto, and it's other racers or other people that are raised in large cities. She loves the town very much, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, Councillor Boddy would like to say something.
Some of us are always fans, I guess. I've got that. When I was growing up as a kid, I got to do some skiing, recreational, and I remember being a kid wanting to go as fast as I could, and I can't imagine how fast that's got to be. Now as a parent, I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent, to look at that picture and see my child going that fast down a hill. It's amazing how brave Larisa must be, fearless, confident. And watching the videos this fall, you could see the confidence in her personality and what an amazing person she is in all the press interviews. She's 25 going on 40 or something. She's amazing. You must be very proud of her. We're all very proud of her, and we wish her the best of luck. It's going to be amazing. Thanks.
Hi, Councillor Wright.
Yes, I understand her coach was accredited today. Is that right? Well, that's wonderful news. I'm sure she is just flying right now. I don't think I've ever met anybody as determined as what Larisa has been. So I think we're all just as determined that we're going to be supporting her to winning isn't everything, but being as determined as she is, you just can't help but say she's so successful, and she is. And because Freddie Wallace is such a fan of hers, we will be hearing everything every morning about Larisa, so that's good. I'm happy about that because we'll all be kept informed of what's going on anyway. Have a wonderful trip over there and safe. Yeah.
Councillor Lemon?
I just hope that some of the downhill races do not occur during a council meeting. Because if they do, I can guarantee you it'll be the most disjointed council meeting because everybody on their screen will be watching her and paying absolutely no attention. It is something for every community to hope for. And like the photographs that I've seen and the videos I've seen, the only way I would think you could get going that fast with a hill is if it's a cliff and you jump, because she's literally going that fast, and it's beautiful. The other thing, it's poetry in motion. It really is. If you look at the smoothness, I'm not good with that, but you know what I mean, and it's beautiful to watch, and the whole city and this whole area is behind her. And as I said, if we have a council meeting, it should be one of the most interesting we've ever held.
Thank you very much, and good luck, Larisa. So we're moving on now to the public question period. If any members of the public have a question for this council. Any questions for council? Seeing none, correspondence for which direction of council is required. There's several items here, beginning with correspondence from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. I was told that that this is so that we as a council know what the key issues are that the Association of Municipalities of Ontario has put forward for our information. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Boddy?
I was just going to move that we receive all four. A lot of them are for information. Not all of them really require us to do anything or necessarily something we want to look into right now. So I just move that we receive all four of these.
Any discussion? Oh, sorry.
Just a question perhaps to the city manager with regards to 11D, correspondence from Transport Canada, report divestiture. Owen Sound had indicated several months ago that we were not going to be in a position to pursue discussions. P&H, Great Lakes Elevators, had begun those discussions and they've broken off. So what are next steps, or where does this whole process now stand? I don't think the city's position has changed, but just curious if you can respond to that.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Twaddle. We are arranging a meeting now with our Member of Parliament to try and answer some of your questions and to report back to Council.
Thank you.
So any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Lemon?
Yeah, just one brief question, the city manager through you. Do we have any idea what happens in the negotiations with Parrish and Heimbecker?
Well, unfortunately, if I could, those negotiations are confidential, and as you'll recall, we had to sign a confidentiality document as well as P&H did.
Councillor Chamberlain?
Yes, well, I know there will be a lot of interest in whether there's going to be some dredging. I think last Friday night, the Stop the Drop group were going to be meeting with the Owen Sound Marina. I'm not sure if it happened because of the weather, but they are rescheduling that, I'm quite sure, and there is lots of interest in what's happening with how our boats can get into the harbor without any dredging happening very soon. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. We now have reports of the committees and city staff and a consent agenda with many items on it. What would council like to do with these items? Yes, Councillor Adair.
Move the consent agenda items. Where are we here?
Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor? The motion's carried. Moving on to reports. There's a number of reports, beginning with a report from the city clerk on a vacancy on the public library. Yes, Councillor Adair.
I'd like to move the recommendation, Madam Chair, and just ask the clerk, this would mean that there would be a appointing bylaw brought forward on our February the 10th meeting?
Under normal practice, through you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
This would mean that normally an appointing bylaw would be brought forward on the meeting following February 10th, which in this case would not be until March due to the timing of conferences and family days falling on Monday. If council directs us to bring forward an appointing bylaw on the same day as the report with the applications, we can do so.
Councillor Adair.
I would like to add to my motion that we direct staff to do that. I think it's the library board is a autonomous board, and it's not an advisory committee, and if we wait until March, we're going to be well into the first quarter before there's a new person to appoint. We've already gone January, we'll be going February, we're into March before we have a full complement of board members, and I think it's important that we go through a due process, but that we get someone appointed as quickly as possible. So I would like to, as part of my motion, direct that we have an appointing bylaw ready for the February 10th meeting.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That's carried. The next report is from the Director of Community Services about the Accessibility Ontario Disability, AODA. Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Thank you, Councillor Twaddle, for helping me out with that. Yes, I just joined the Accessibility Committee, so I'm sure I'm going to be able to say that the next time I'm required to. So this is a report. If the Director of Community Services might like to say a few words about this report.
Certainly, thank you. Through your, certainly, it's just, I just would like to point out that it's a joint report. So Jamie Walpole, the manager of IT, and Kristen Van Elfen, the city clerk, and I work together on this, and we are the corporate team that will be driving this project forward. So Council's heard a lot about the AODA that was approved in 2005, and the first standard was customer service. And the next 4 standards that are under this new IASR regulation include information and communication, employment, transportation, and the built environment. They became law in 2011 and are being phased in between 2011 and 2021, depending on the type of organization you are and how big you are. So these, through those regulations, we like to think of these as the 5 pillars of accessibility. So you'll see those on the AODA Lead Plan, and you'll see them listed on the left-hand side. You'll also see along the top of that chart that there is a description of each of the different regulations, then a description of the consultation that's required under the regulations. So in particular, this notes where there's consultation required with the public, the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and people with disabilities. So then you'll see, moving on toward the right, the compliance date as it's spelled out in the regulation, and then a lead city staff. So here we've identified departments, but in our working version, there's names attached to these departments, and then there's a project deadline. The first of these, and we talked to Accessibility Advisory Committee today, is around the accessibility plans and the the accessibility policy and the multi-year plan. On these 2 things, the Accessibility Committee has an important role, and so one of their first tasks as a new committee in February will be to provide input to Council on these policies and plans. Going forward, we have information and communication, and certainly we have with Mr. Walpole the right person leading this task. Moving on to transit in the chart. Transit is one of the largest pillars. It has 47 sections that can be broken into different areas, but it applies where a municipality has conventional and specialized transit. In our case, we have both, as well as taxi cabs in this municipality. Our corporate team is recommending to Council that we engage a consultant and to help the city work toward compliance with the transportation standard. We are currently undergoing a process of route rationalization, bus choice, and design of new transit stops, and this needs to be coordinated with the transportation work. So not only are there built environment pieces, but there's customer service pieces in terms of transportation. So we're recommending, you'll see that that we hire a consultant and amend that RFP that's gone out to include this component. So the recommendation that council's asked to consider is that you would approve the plan outlined with respect to the corporate accessibility team and the AODA lead plan for the city, and direct staff to prepare an addendum to that request for proposal to address the implementation of the accessibility requirements for transit as outlined in the IASR.
Thank you very much, and my apologies to the clerk and manager of IT for not including you in this joint work. It's a very, very big task and a lot of information, and personally I'm really looking forward to getting this work done for the city. What would you like to do with this report, Councillor Lemon?
Well, I would like to split the two items, the recommendations, and I would move recommendation 1, approving the plan outlined with respect to the corporate accessibility team and the AODA lead plan for the city. The other is dealing with transit, and I like some, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on that, but because I want some additional information.
Your motion, Councillor Lemon, is
To
for
approve
point 1 of the
point
recommendation?
1. Yeah.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? That's carried. What would you like to do with point 2, Councillor
Okay,
Twaddle?
I have
I've
a
got Councillor Twaddle here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I would move the recommendation that we hire a consultant to deal with the overwhelming number of issues that are required around transit in our accessibility plan.
So we have a motion to, for point 2. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Lemon?
I have just a question.
Yes.
Are we hiring, we've already approved hiring a consultant to do the traffic study. Is this another consultant?
Through you to Councillor Wright, it would be an addendum to the existing RFP that's
So it's the
been
same
reissued.
consultant,
It would
only he's got
hopefully
an
be this-
added duty.
Right.
That's fine.
So that's the point of clarification. And Councillor Lemon, you had a point?
Well, this is really very difficult for me because I want to make our system as accessible as possible. I think that's critical. I really, well, my problem is I thought at one point we could do this within the city. Apparently we can't. When would we expect to have that consultant in place?
City Manager?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Lemon. We have the RFP out. We are doing an addendum. We hope to close, I believe it's February 14th, and bring a report shortly thereafter.
It will take some time for them to put this together, obviously.
Well, we're hoping to move it forward quickly, but we have to get it right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor Chamberlain?
Just for clarification, this is the same consultant that will be looking at the routes, the 3 routes, and now looking at the accessibility of all the routes. And that's-
Assuming that the winning consultant has abilities within their firm to address accessibility, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this motion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. We have a report from the city clerk, municipal election update number 2. I'd ask the clerk if she could perhaps speak to this report.
Certainly. This is a second general report to provide council with more information about how the election will be run, and in this case asking for some direction on whether you are interested in having a policy drafted for consideration. We have 3 elements with respect to our voting method that I wanted to bring to your attention. One is internet voter lookup, and internet voter lookup is a module or a portal which we will be using to allow voters to determine whether or not they are on the voter list. I can let council know that the deputy clerk and I were at a training session on Friday with respect to municipal elections where we had a presentation from MPAC. And during that presentation, we were advised that MPAC is actually launching an internet voter lookup portal as well for their enumeration. So what they're hoping to do, rather than send out paper this year, is drive people to an internet portal to determine whether their information in the MPEC database is correct. So they're asking for municipalities' help in getting that information out to the constituents, and we will certainly do that. What that means is that there will be a portal available for ratepayers to determine if they're on the list from April until the end of August, at which point the preliminary list of electors will be created by MPAC and provided to the municipalities. When we receive that list, the portal will switch to us, and voters will continue to be able to determine whether or not they are on the voter list. So we're really hoping that this will meet one of the goals that I know is very important to this council, which is getting the best voter list that we can. It means that people will be able to look up and amend their information almost up until the time that they go to the polls, and then we will continue to use this portal at the polls to be able to digitally update our records. Internet voter registration is the second step to that. If you find out that you are not on the list, you have the opportunity to key in all of your information in a digital fashion on the internet. You will still have to provide ID in order for us to determine that you should be considered a registered voter. But what it does is help us with the data entry by having the voter put that information in. The voter can make sure that their information is correct, which decreases the number of data entry errors that are made. And it also means that if somebody arrives at a voting location, that we can take their ID and digitally input one of these forms, which means they don't have to be writing it out on a piece of paper. We can print those right at the voting location, and they can sign off once we've seen their identification. So all of these changes are designed to increase the voter experience, engage the voter, and have good information. And the last one is Vote Anywhere. Using this technology from Municipal Voter View that allows us to do the internet voter lookup and internet voter registration, we can also work digitally from each of our voting locations, which means that we can provide what is known as Vote Anywhere, which means that while we are reducing the number of voting locations in the city, we are actually increasing for the voter the opportunities they have of what location they want to vote at. So no longer are you prescribed to go to the location that is the closest to your home. You can go to whatever location on that day is most amenable to you given your daily activities. And that also allows us to take one of the locations and put particular accessible features in that location, which means for the first time we'll be able to allow persons with disabilities to vote independently, because one of our stations will be set up with sip and puff or paddle or a digital input so that they will be able to vote without the assistance of a friend. However, if they choose to go to one of the other locations, they can continue to vote with the assistance of a friend if that is more suitable to them on that particular day. Campaign policy refers to the increasing existence in municipalities of policies that govern the use of municipal resources during an election period. And I have about 20 precedents, including a number from our neighboring municipalities, so I'm bringing the issue to the attention of council to determine if that's something that this council is interested in. And lastly, in lieu of that policy, there has been a staff practice here for a number of election cycles that meets one of the principles of the Elections Act, which is to make sure that all of the candidates are treated in a fair and consistent manner. And it makes sure that staff are never in a position to have the appearance of giving one councillor or one candidate more information than another. And so that practice is just making sure that those councillors who haven't been on council in the past are aware of that. And there will be another report coming forward with more information in the future.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Toll?
Thank you, Councillor Purdon. I have 2 or 3 questions, really just just for information. One, the voter lookup option, the internet lookup. Does that allow me to put in my name and address and find out whether I'm on the list, or does it allow me to peruse the list?
It allows you only to input information and get a yes or no response. It does not allow you to see information displayed that you can browse.
Right, and that's, that was my concern, because I know federally and provincially, the list of electors is a confidential document, it's not a public document, so that, excuse me, that clarifies that. With regard to the issue around use of municipal resources for the election campaign, there may not have been a policy, but certainly it's been a practice that absolutely no candidate can have access to any municipal resources, including using their city-issued business card as a member of council, for example. Certainly I support that. And I support the issue of, and it's the same with a request for proposal or a tender document that goes out. If one respondent asks the question, everybody gets the answer. During what period would that apply, or is that something that would come forward in your report?
The practice of providing information?
Yes.
If we follow the practice that we have in past, it applies during the election year. So as soon as nominations open, it begins to apply.
So from now on?
Yes.
So my question is, if I get a city council agenda and I phone the director of finance to ask a question about something that's on the agenda, does that now obligate all staff to send out to everybody who has filed a nomination paper a response to a question or clarification about an agenda item for a meeting that we're going to have?
That's an excellent question, and I've been speaking with the manager of elections who has been involved in this practice in the past, and certainly it is a matter of threshold. Any open municipal information should be shared, but if it is related to an agenda item that is going to become a public notice or public information through the regular council process, then I don't see that as being an instance where that would have to happen, because that is your work as a clarification as a councillor. However, if you were inquiring about something related to, if you asked for a copy of the official plan, it would be noted to a distribution list that copies of the official plan are available at X location.
Okay, yeah. I'm just going to say, because we have, I don't know, 20 different meetings in a month. All of us are involved in some of them. All of us have questions about agenda items or issues on reports that aren't clear, and I was, not that I'm trying to keep anybody from,
No.
And all of the public agendas are public access. So anybody wants to look them up, but I was just thinking that, you know, we might have to be very careful about a casual conversation in the hall at City Council about what did you mean by that sentence in your report. That so I just wanted to make sure that that's a.
We don't want this to be unreasonable, that
Well,
the entire
I
operation
could just see
shuts
staff.
down.
I could just see staff doing nothing but sending out
Yes.
emails to everybody every time.
So I
a
would
question is
suggest that
asked.
those items related to agenda that are going to be made public through the regular council or committee process wouldn't be subject to this, but items that are unique or distinct would be.
Okay, I think that covers my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lemon?
Yeah, I think the computer access or internet access to the voters list is a great improvement. However, there are people who are computer illiterate or may not own a computer. Can they access that from, it doesn't have to be from home, could they say go to the library and use the computers there if they know what they're doing? Or does it have to be your own computer?
Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair. No, this is a web-based program, so this will be accessible through our website from any computer. I would anticipate, although I haven't spoken with the CAO of the library yet, that the library will be assisting, as they are very interested in accessibility and providing computers. We will also hopefully have a computer at the counter in the clerk's department that people will be able to use, and clerks will be available to assist people who want some assistance. This will not preclude people from being able to use a traditional method of finding out whether they're on the voter list.
That's my question, because we have people who have never used computers in our community.
And certainly, we're not looking to disengage the voter by changing the
No, it's just
process.
to make it
We're
more
just
accessible to
adding
more
more
people.
opportunities.
Thank you very much.
So do I have some direction here from council? Yes, Councillor Body, or other?
Further discussion, I suppose. Number one recommendation is the easy one. I came prepared in my notes to move and go ahead with a policy governing the use of municipal resources. But as the more I've thought about it, this is ethics. Ethically, we don't use staff, resources, financial, city property to benefit ourselves. That's an ethic. If we added a policy, it's not going to have enough teeth to make any difference, probably. We're probably not going to call a person on it who's unethical and isn't following the policy anyway. I'm not sure that the policy gets us any farther than ethics should get us now.
So are you talking yourself out of emotion?
That's my position. I wait to hear from everyone else, but I'm really undecided on it, I guess, is just as a matter of discussion.
Any other discussion? Councillor Adair?
I would move that we receive the report for information purposes.
Well, there's a motion on the floor to receive the report for information purposes. Any further discussion on that? Councillor Twaddle?
Well, just to item 2 and Councillor Body's position, I'm just reminded of the Mayor Rob Ford defense for his conflict of interest, where he said he never had read the document and thought therefore that excused him from behaving in a compliant and ethical manner. I think it's important that everybody understand the rules. I think it's more important, potentially more important, that staff have a policy to which they can point should a request that someone feels is inappropriate come forward to them. I think that's, you can't, you're right, you can't enforce ethical behavior. People are either ethical or they're not, but you can protect other people from potentially unethical behavior. So I'm in favor of the first part, but when that's finished, I'll move the second recommendation.
Okay, I was just going to clarify, we have the motion for number 1 on the floor. Any other discussion on that? Councillor Wright?
Are we going to vote just on that one motion?
Yes, that's what Councillor Adair is suggesting. We vote on number 1 right now.
Then call the question on.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried. And now on to,
Speak on number 2.
and you'd like to speak? Well, go ahead then.
Yeah, on the second part, I have to, thank you, sorry. I have to agree with Councillor Twaddle. I would support this, and I think it's for staff benefit more than anything, that staff need to have direction as to what do they do in a certain situation, and I think this would do it. I certainly agree that it is totally ethical, and I also have to agree that not everybody's ethical, so therefore we have to put these policies in place. So I'll move the second one, recommendation, that we provide direction to staff to draft a policy governing the use of municipal resources for election purposes for council's consideration.
Thank you. So that's the motion, and Councillor Tall, you wanted to speak again to that? You did speak already to it?
No, that's fine. I was simply going to make that motion.
Any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Adair?
Well, I think staff do have a resource to fall back on. It's called the Municipal Elections Act. I'm not sure that developing policies to cover every single possible unethical act that someone might do are really worth more than the paper that they're written on. It's the act that has authority, and I think we're just wasting staff's time by asking them to write a policy.
Any other discussion on this recommendation? Yes. Councillor Lemon.
Well, Councillor Boddy made a very good point. You can't legislate ethics. And you can't. You can make all the rules in the book. And I just think that getting this report, we haven't had a problem in the past, to my knowledge, of people using municipal resources, such as putting signs on vehicles and things. I think we're stirring up more than we're going to solve with it, and I think that staff right now has got a lot on their plate.
Any other discussion on this motion? Councillor McManaman.
Thank you. Interesting listening to this debate back and forth. Every existing councillor gets their internet provided by the city at their home. Are we allowed to use that in an election campaign? And the answer was, I don't know. And probably nobody here really has any idea either. We probably are, but so that just was one example that popped into my head right now, and there's probably others. Use of our laptop. We all have city email. If any candidate, any person here decided to run again, gets an email on their city email about the election, they're allowed to answer it on their laptop? I don't know. So these are questions that I have, and so perhaps it's better to get a clearer understanding. So I guess I'll vote in. I'll vote in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Councillor Chamberlain.
I was going to say I appreciate what Councillor McMahon just said, because I was going to ask what's an example of a municipal resource in this election purpose. So now when you say it's our emails and our laptops, thank you very much. I do think we should vote for number 2.
Okay, any other discussion on this motion? Councillor Lemon.
Well, with the internet access, we technically get, we're given money to pay for because we use the internet for council business. And so if we receive an email from a constituent asking a question or saying, I think, da-da-da-da-da, are we then using it for campaigning purposes? I think we're opening up a hornet's nest.
My understanding would be that that would be part of the discussion with number 2, or not. At any rate, any other, Councillor Bott?
Just to reply now that I've heard everybody, yeah, you're right. There's a whole bunch of little rules and a whole bunch of little things that we don't have a clue how it's going to be affected. And I agree, we need some kind of policy to set it out so that we all understand it's all even.
Okay, so are we ready to vote on this? So we have a motion from Councillor Wright, number 2. All in favor? And opposed? That motion's carried. So the next item, 12B4, is from the Deputy Clerk about public appointment to the Cultural Advisory Committee. So the recommendation, Councillor Twall?
Yes, I would move that we appoint Robert Garnett to the Cultural Advisory Committee for a term beginning February 1, 2014 and expiring January 31, 2017.
Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? That's carried. The next report is from the Legislative Services Coordinator about the volunteer appreciation event for 2013 volunteers. There's a report there with a recommendation to approve a hosting of a volunteer appreciation event that includes an Owen Sound Junior A attack hockey game. Yes, Councillor Wright.
Thank you very much. I will move that recommendation that for the appreciation event for 2013, City Council approve hosting a volunteer appreciation event, which will be an invite to the Owen Sound Junior A attack game with a little reception before the game.
And that's on March 2nd. Any,
on March 12th.
March 12th, sorry.
Right.
Any discussion on that? Comment? All in favor? That's carried. I think we have enough. Oh, yes, sorry. Councillor Dare, you had declared a... that's why you ran out, and now you're running back. Report 12B6 from the Director of Financial Services about the statement of council remuneration and expenses for 2013. The recommendation is to receive the report. Yes, Councillor Twaddle.
I'll move that we receive the report.
Right. Any discussion on this? All in favor? That motion is carried. Now we have a report from the purchasing agent about the elevator rehabilitation for the Owen Sound North Grey Union Public Library, that we authorize Mayor and Clerk to execute an agreement for JP Commercial Contractors for the elevator project at the library. Yes, Councillor Dare.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I'm pleased to move this recommendation. I'm not actually pleased we have to do the work, but I'm pleased that we are at the position where we can hire someone and get started with the work. So I'll move the recommendation.
Discussion, Councillor Twaddle?
Thank you. I certainly support getting the work done. I do have a question, though, about it's recommended that we remove the waterproofing of the elevator shaft in order to bring it within budget. And I just want to know how how much of the damage or deterioration was caused by the water and whether we're being short-sighted in that.
We have our CEO who could probably answer that question.
Thank you, Your Worship. We don't know for sure where the water came from that has caused the issue. It could have come in from the side. It could also have come in from underneath with the water that moves under the library towards the river. We believe that we can move forward with the project and not do the waterproofing at this time. We can then work at determining where the water is coming from. We will have a sump pump and a drain in the bottom. That's part of the modernization. So any water that's in there that would be in any way standing is removed. That was the problem before, is that any moisture that did go in had nowhere to go. So it sat in that slight hollow and worked away at the steel that's there.
So I appreciate that. During the repairs then, will that be the time when we find where the water's coming in?
I believe so. I believe that when they are working with putting in a new sleeve, they will see where the water table is below. At this point in time, they're not sure how deep the water is. The engineering company was trying to make that determination for us last summer and were unsuccessful.
So what I'm getting at is that you're doing the repairs, so you're in the shaft, you've got it all opened up. The elevator itself, I assume, will be out of the way for a while. You can see the work and have access to it. would it be more cost-effective once we know what the problem is to fix it while we have that opportunity, given that it would still be significantly over budget? Or what I'm getting at is if it's $80-some thousand now that we're taking out to do the work now, to waterproof it. If we get in there and decide that we're going to do it next year or 2 years down the road, will it be 80,000 still plus a little bit of inflation, or will it be 150 because you've got to go back in and re-access the shaft after some of the work has been done?
Through your worship, the waterproofing would be done from the exterior, so they wouldn't have to access the shaft. There wouldn't be anything like that. It's going down the one wall of the 4 walls of the shaft and waterproofing that one exterior wall.
Great, thank you.
Yes, City Manager?
Well, just further to that, I would point out that Gamsby and Manor Row have recommended this to us. They don't think it's going to be an issue at all.
Thanks for that clarification. Do we have a motion on the floor? David, yes. Any other discussion on this? All in favor? So the motion is carried.
Thank you.
We have a report from the event facilitator about the proposed Canada Day enhancements, which involves a ship. Yes, yes, Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I'll move that recommendation as it's presented.
So the recommendation is for excursions over the Canada Day weekend by the look of it. Yes, Councillor Boddy?
I'm going to ask my friend Councillor Chamberlain for a friendly amendment and add to that any revenues or excess revenues or profits go into a reserve fund. Reading through this, I was somewhat concerned that they could be spent this year and they could go into a budget to be spent this year before we know what they are. And it just seems to me that they should go into a reserve so they're held for a future year, so then we don't spend what we don't bring in, if that makes sense. Do you want me to say that again?
Try it again.
You're looking at me. You're looking at me with that look.
That's your teacher.
Within the report, it talks about we could have a profit of $400 to $4,000. In the report, it talks about spending it on other things, other events. If we don't know what it is, I hate to see it being spent this year. So we spend $4,000 this year, but find out we only brought in $400. I'm saying that let's have that amend the recommendations so that any revenues, excess revenues, goes into reserve for a future year. Spent, however, in a future year, but just so it doesn't get spent before we know what we've actually received.
Thank you for that clarification,
I hope that
Councillor
makes sense
Boddy.
now.
And to the mover of the motion?
That's fine, that's absolutely fine.
So that's been accepted. Any other discussion on this? City Manager.
I do have to point out there is some risk with this because there is an $8,000 deposit required. We had a lot of discussion at a staff level on this. But in the end, I think it's a great idea, particularly for Canada Day weekend. I'm not sure I would necessarily have supported it any other weekend. But I just wanted to make sure everyone going forward knew there is some risk with this.
Councillor Lemon?
Well, when we had the tall ships in not so long ago, there was a certain amount of risk there, and I think we should not be risk adverse because the tall ships, I mean, I looked out my front window and saw the traffic and couldn't get up my street and had people wanting parking. That's the best thing that can happen. That is going to bring people in. It's going to get a focus on Owen Sound. And the nice part about it is, it's right at the beginning of the summer. So it expands across the summer because people will know about Owen Sound and say, oh yeah, that's for the, I wonder if there's anything in the harbor to look at, da-da-da-da. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it should be supported strongly, and I agree with Councillor Boddy's suggestion there. You get into a slippery slope when you spend expected profits before you know what they are, and it should really be up to council to decide where that money goes.
Any other discussion on this motion? All in favor? That's carried. So, we're on to minutes of boards and committees for approval. There's a set of minutes there. Maybe we should start with the Community Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee because there was an additional report that came from Mark Potter on a policy on planning. Yes, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I have some questions on the first set of minutes, and this document that I got now that has a policy in it. I just got this at noon today, and I honestly haven't had time to go through it. I've read the first section, but I would like to defer this to the next council meeting so that I have a chance to read through it. I've got some questions that I would like to go and sit down with their planner and discuss it, have it explained to me so that I do know what this is all about. Because having a look at the minutes here and then looking at this, I'm not comprehending what was in there and what is in here is different. So I need to speak to our planner about it, to find out where the difference is.
I think Ms. Coulter was looking like she might want to say something there.
The report and policy should have gone out with the minutes, so our apologies. Certainly happy to have it wait till next council, and everyone will have an opportunity to review the report and the policy, and we can certainly answer questions in advance or at the council meeting, so happy to do that.
I think it's worthy of having a good look at it rather than rushing it through.
Well, but certainly it has been a topic of discussion for quite some time now. We've been looking forward to this report. So is your motion then to move the minutes of the planning and advisory only and then deal with the report?
Section of Report A, the report planning assistant regarding comments on planning notices, and this document here.
Right. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? That's carried. There's also minutes from Operations Committee and the public meeting minutes and minutes from the Recreation Parks Advisory. Yes, Councillor Adair?
Move the bulk of the remaining minutes.
Any discussion on any of these remaining minutes? All in favor? So that's carried. We have minutes from in-camera minutes for approval from January 13th, 2014, and two sets of minutes from January 13th. What would you like to do with the in-camera minutes? Yes, Councillor Lemon?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor? That's approved or carried. And we're on to other business. There were several other business items, starting with Councillor Chamberlain about the Senior Centre.
Yes, this is about the McQuay Tannery Senior Centre, and they've just been successful in receiving a Trillium grant so that they can become accessible with a ramp for wheelchair accessibility. They're also announcing now that they will be having a forum on March the 5th. I'm sure they'll be here to do a deputation to tell us more about that, but I do know that the goal of that is to set up a seniors council for the area, and that is something that we've been working on for a long time. So that's very good news for the senior center and making this community friendly, senior friendly.
Great news, Councillor Chamberlain, and that's great that they got the grant too. Councillor Wright, you had an item?
I wanted to ask about a letter that went out, Your Acting Worship, but I think the mayor needs to be here to answer that question, so if I could, I won't ask that question, but can I ask another one?
Sure,
Because
why
at the
not?
time- I just wondered if I could find out the status of the museum RFP. I thought it was to be in the end of the year, haven't heard anything, so I just wondered what the status was.
Is there anyone here who can provide? City Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Wright. Mr. Steve Furness is working on that report, hopefully as we speak, and we'll be bringing it forward probably at the next meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Lemon had several items.
Well, the one question I had was on the CNR request for proposal, and that has been answered. The other question I've got has to do with something that I'm very, very concerned about. Today, 3 city buses were out of service, our transit buses. Others ones had to be substituted. Do we know if the new buses have been ordered yet, and if they haven't, when that will happen? Because there's a long delivery time.
City Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Lemon, we can't ask the consultant to order those buses until they know how many buses they're going to be ordering. So we do have to get the finalization on whatever number of routes we're going to finalize. So we're working on that. I can tell you that I did speak with First Student today and have asked them to look further than Owen Sound to see if they can get actual transit buses on loan from one of their other cities that they provide services to. And I've asked them to ensure that if they have to use school buses, that they properly sign them both on the front and on the sides, because I know that has been raised as an issue with the riders. They know it is a major concern of the city that that number of buses is out of service, and they know that I'm leaning on them very heavily to get those buses back in service, or to find a replacement bus from another locale. But as far as ordering buses, I just don't know how we would ask them to order them when we're not sure how many buses are going to be required yet.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing is a concern that I have, and it happened, I think it was last week, the specialized transit bus broke down. And we only have one of those, and they had to use the school bus again, which I understand is something is better than nothing in that case. But that bus appears to be showing its age, to put it nicely. As an example, the heating system in the bus isn't working all that well. And I feel sorry for the driver because he's sitting in a fairly cold vehicle, and every time the doors are open, particularly when they open the thing for these wheelchairs, the ramp thing. But I just wondered, is that also going to be replaced, that bus? I know the regular transit buses are, but is that included in the replacement?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Lemon, you caught me on that one. I don't know with certainty, so I'd have to research that and get back to you.
Wouldn't mind, because it caught me too, because somebody asked me that, and I said, I don't know, because I don't think we've ever sort of had a wholesome discussion about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Brody, you had an item?
I just want to update everybody. We had our creative mixer on Thursday night with economic development, and what we did is, we all know the economy is changing. I've got to be very careful that I don't overstate that the death of industrialization, because as a community we have held on to manufacturing much better than most in Ontario, and we continue to do very well at it. Having said that, a plant like RBW, Transcontinental, TC, depending how long you've lived in Owen Sound, what you call it, is producing an old style product, being a magazine or printed material, printed paper, and they have the highest tech, the largest fiber optic cord coming in to the city going there. It's an extremely high-tech system that they have that's kind of neat. They were at our economic development meeting, as were 60 people that are involved, living in Owen Sound, that are making a living, being creative. Some of them are making movies, some of them are making books, some of them are the head chef from Georgian College, for example. Most of them are sending their product through a modem down the line, selling it to the rest of the world, and live here. We had this meeting to try and attract them to find out who's here. We don't really have an inventory of the people that are here that are making a living, and so that was a start. It was great to get them into one room, because as people were introducing themselves into a microphone, giving their little elevator speech, people were pointing, going, "Oh, that's who that is," and connecting immediately with these people that they know in the community but have never met them. From that, we are hoping that someday we can take that spark of things that are going on, creativity here, and fan it into a full flame with programmers, and start to enhance and develop our computer-based, information-based industry right here in Owen Sound that is already there, but we hope to be able to develop it. So Thursday's meeting was fantastic. We were overwhelmed with the number of people that were there, and we'll be meeting again in approximately 4 months. So it was a great day.
If I could just add to that, because I was at that meeting, it was also a great example of both the private and public sector internet-based economies that we have in our city and in our region, who are also coming together around improving bandwidth and fiber coming across the area as part of the SWIA project that they have for Southwest Ontario and broadband. So it was a great way to get people up to date on that, and was really, really great to see so many different people who didn't know one another often, all in one place. So that was a great, really great initiative. If I may add one more kind of agenda item, which is not really business. Well, I guess it is. On February the 1st at Grey Roots Museum, we're going to be celebrating the Chinese New Year for the first time officially in Grey Bruce and Owen Sound. May Eep has organized that in collaboration with Grey Roots Museum. And we will be providing a display and a presentation on the sister city, Dai, and several of the descendants of the missionaries, the Canadian missionaries who were in Dai, which is why we have that connection, will also be there to present some artifacts and to talk a bit about their perspective. And we're trying to pull together pictures of Dai County, our sister area, as well as some pictures of the missionaries and some pictures of the Chinese group that came here from Dai in October at Thanksgiving and their visit in Owen Sound. So we'll be there. So it's an invitation from 11 to 12:30 at Grey County. There's going to be some Chinese food and celebration. Everyone is welcome. I think it's going to be just an open event at the museum that people can just go to. That's this coming Saturday. And then there's a Chinese New Year dinner at the following day on Sunday from 1:30 till 4, 1 to 4:30, sorry, at the, Councillor Boddy can help me with this, Shan Hu restaurant as well. It's also a celebration. So this is a great idea for people of Chinese heritage and also friends to get together to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So, a motion that the committee rise and report. All in favor? That's carried. And a resolution adopting proceedings in committee of the whole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Twaddle, that the action taken in committee of the whole in considering public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tables, motions for which notice was previously given, and other business be hereby confirmed by this council.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Notices of motion? None. New business by resolution? None. Bylaws?
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chamberlain, that bylaws 2014, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 2014, 19 be hereby passed and enacted.
All in favor? The motion is carried and we are adjourned. Thank you.